Welcome back to another Professional Picks college basketball video. We're officially back from our little hiatus. We already dropped our NFL video earlier this week, recorded with Woj, so check it out if you haven't already. But today I have three matchups for tomorrow, actually, January 11th. A couple ranked games, ranked teams at least featured in all the games. But also check out our Twitter at Profit of Picks. If you haven't, I've been posting a lot of plays on there while I was gone. Started off pretty cold, but starting to heat up in the last week or so. But with that, let's get into our video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, comment. I just love all the extra interaction we're seeing on these videos. But with that, go into our first matchup. We have Arkansas against Alabama. This one's going to be in Arkansas, top 15 matchup even. Number 15 Arkansas hosting number 4 Alabama. Alabama's been on an absolute roll. Can't I've faded them a couple times and I've paid the price so far, as you guys have seen on the channel. They also have Namari Burnett, who's been out. He's the only real injury to note here. Obviously, you have Trayvon Brazil, who's out for the season for Arkansas, and then also Nick Smith, who's out too, but probably won't see him back for a little while or at all. But Arkansas preseason, I thought they were going to be one of the best teams in the country, and had they stayed healthy, I think that would be true still. Still up there, obviously, at number 15, but losing two starters, probably your best post player, and then probably your best natural scorer on the roster. Really going to hurt you, but Arkansas plays great at home. Since they joined the SEC in ranked matchups, they have not lost at home. Some crazy stat I saw. But anyways, we got an even line here, about what I expected with just how dominant Alabama's been so far this season. Brandon Miller has been the key cog, averaging almost 20 points a game as a freshman. He's set to be a lottery pick. Not the most efficient, but can really do it all on the court. And then Ricky Council, the fourth for Arkansas, transferred from Wichita State. Their leading scorer been just super impactful, more than anybody could have ever guessed at the start of the season, especially with those injuries that we mentioned. He's had to take on a lot of the load offensively. Arkansas really relies on their defense. They're number 7 in defense in the country, whereas Alabama's a balanced team. They're not far behind. They have the 9th best defense in the country and the 18th offense. Obviously, great on both ends of the floor, being number 4 overall. Alabama also plays at the second fastest tempo in the league, or in all of college basketball. Arkansas plays at 54, which out of 350 or 60 something teams, Arkansas plays at a very high pace. Usually home court allows you to kind of control the tempo of the game. Alabama's going to want to speed it up, but that's also where Arkansas wants to be as well. I just don't see that really playing in their favor in this one. I don't necessarily want to bet against like decade-long streak, but the Razorbacks are just not as deep as Alabama is. Even with the Namari Burnett injury for Alabama, they still bring senior Javon Quinterly off the bench, who averaged almost 14 points a game, played over 30 minutes per game on their team last year, who was also a preseason pick to potentially win the championship. So he was on a very good team, put up a ton of great numbers, and they bring him off the bench. When you have weapons like that and just stacked throughout the roster, it's really tough to compete against. The one knock I guess I would have on Bama here is just the amount of freshmen they start, but Arkansas is the same on the other end. You got like Anthony Black, great guard, and then Jordan Walsh, just very solid freshman as well. I see a lot of decent similarities in this team, and if anything, just stay away from this game. But if I were to take a side, it would probably be on Alabama here. Take the number 4 team overall in the country, who you can argue has looked better than anyone. Yes, they're on the road in one of the toughest places to play, and we're we're betting on a game like that tonight, so that's hard for me to jump back in action like that. Maybe after this Michigan State Wisconsin outcome, I'll have an official play, but I think the lean here is Alabama. I also am just hesitant on going against them with how many times they've burned me. It feels like a game Arkansas is due to win at home, big time matchup, and just how many big games Alabama's pulled out. But I think Alabama still has the talent. Charles Bediako in the post too even gives them the size advantage over Makai Mitchell. Like Draymond Brazil would be great to have in this game. Not that Bediako is going to score too much, but he's going to protect the paint, really force Alabama to hit those perimeter shots. Or not Alabama, Arkansas. My bad. But obviously Ricky Council can shoot it, but um, I don't necessarily trust the 7-point average of Jordan Walsh or Anthony Black to really hit at a high enough rate to keep them in this or to win the game. It's going to be a close one. No official play as of now, but Alabama is the lean. The next game we have on our slate is Creighton at Xavier. It's the not officially top 25 ranked matchup, but Creighton was top 10 preseason, and thus we threw him in the video. It's a close line, as you can see. Xavier -3 at home, so the odds makers think this is an even matchup. Just one really interesting stat that I saw was on Ken Palm. He has this luck stat where essentially um, it's based kind of off of like if this team plays in a close game and like just the probability of 50-50 outcomes. And Creighton pretty much loses all of these close games. So of the 363 teams in college basketball, Creighton is 357th in luck. So pretty much everything that could go against them has so far this season. But at the same time, you could play devil's advocate and say that they don't close out these games. Maybe their inexperience is still showing. Yes, they basically return everyone from last year, but they were all freshmen. They're all sophomores now. It's tough to get fully behind Creighton, especially when you have such a tough opponent here in Xavier. Um, like Sule Boom, he's like I think the top rated transfer right now from this previous portal. He's putting up big numbers. You got Colby Jones here. I put him as the X factor just because he could do so much on the court. Great 3-point shooter, great defender. Probably be matched up with Kaluma, um, maybe guard Trey Alexander, but he'll be switching onto Nemhard too. So Colby Jones, a very important player for Xavier. And the X factor I put in for Creighton is Ryan Kalkbrenner. Had an injury earlier in the year, but he's been back for a little while now, and he's a good player. He's very tall, just still a little bit on the thinner side, but he's definitely become more aggressive and just worked or filled out into his body, I guess. But he has a tendency to go kind of quiet in some bigger games. I'm not fully sold on him in the sense where I think he kind of uses his size to dominate some easier matchups, and then when he plays some tougher teams, he can his just strength disadvantage can really catch up to him quickly, I guess. And it's going to be important in this game because you got Xavier with Jack Nungy, the 7-footer, transfer from Iowa a couple of years ago, but he's a great senior, strong player, very solid. And then you also have Zach Freemantle, the 6'9" power forward, who just score from pretty much anywhere on the court. So Kalkbrenner is going to be really important in this one. If he doesn't show up, I don't think they're going to even stay in the game. But obviously, the spread indicates that they think it's going to be close. My initial thought was, okay, Xavier's probably going to pull this, or not Xavier, Creighton probably going to pull this one out just to due to natural regression. I mean, top 10 preseason team, lost a lot of close games so far. Just couldn't be more due for a win. But this Xavier team is so tough. Obviously they're 12th in the country, but out of like the top 6 conferences in college basketball, they're number 1 in the country in 3-point shooting. and number 4 overall out of 363 teams in three-point shooting this year. They shoot over 40% from the three-point line, and while that stat is something that could definitely fluctuate when you're at home, it's a little more consistent. When you got the crowd behind you, and if you're hitting it 40% from three, it's tough to ever really lose a game. This one kind of seems like an avoid. The hope was to get an even line or something close to it, Taylor Xavier. But I think we're avoiding this one for now. We like to lean towards Alabama, but my issue with Xavier is everybody preseason is like, okay, they're top 10 team. They looked great. They fought with Kansas in the round of 32 last year as an 8 seed, but there hasn't been a massive jump from a lot of these guys from year 1 to 2. I mean, Alexander, Kaluma, they're playing better. Nemhard's not turning the ball over as much, but the jump just hasn't been big enough to where we've seen a substantial difference. I guess at the same time, I think Baylor Shireman's a very good player, leads his team in rebounds, but his impact hasn't been felt enough. I thought he was going to score a little bit more for them. So Creighton's just one of those teams I don't have a good read on. Could be worth a live bet. As of now, this is an avoid game. I think Xavier's the better team, especially at home. And then we're going to wrap it up with TCU at Texas. We got a ranked matchup, number 10 versus 17 overall in the country. We do have a 6.5 point spread. So odds makers are saying Texas is about 3.5 points better than TCU, which is fairly even given the rankings. Another interesting stat to look at here is Ken Palm has Texas at number 8 in the country. And then while TCU is at number 17, Ken Palm has them at 33. Texas is top 20 in offense and defense, while TCU is not top 20 in either. They have a 26th rated defense, while they're all the way down to 69 in offense. So I think the real read here on TCU is there are a bunch of good players with one great player being Mike Miles. But in this matchup, I kind of like where they stand. Mike Miles, Marcus Cars, put them both here as X factor. So I really think whoever wins that matchup will decide this spread. Both experienced point guards put up a lot of points for their teams and just really facilitate the offense. So Mike Miles here, leading scorer on TCU, averaging about 18, 19, close to 20 points a game. And I'm always against Texas. I've always been fading them. It's been hurting me recently, but I do like TCU plus 6.5 here. I think Mike Miles wins his matchup against Marcus Carr, who I'm saying this because I was also going to apologize that I was talking down on Marcus Carr and a lot of this Texas team generally last time I bet against them, but he's had a great season so far. All of them really have. My interesting note that's really driving this, and I think TCU is a good team. I don't think they're as good as Texas, but 6.5 points is a lot in a conference matchup among two ranked teams as well. TCU has some size too. They got Eddie Lampkin. They got the senior guard Damian Ball from Memphis. He's having a very good season with them. So they have complementary players. I don't necessarily love when teams revolve around their point guard, and that's why I usually or just haven't loved Texas recently. But I think these teams are very similar, and I think this should be a close game. And on top of that, since the Chris Beard firing, or since he's put on leave, they've had their interim coach Rodney Terry. He's done a good job. They're 6-1 with him. They were 7-1 without him, so pretty on par. But they have a 1-point win against Oklahoma, who is a good team, but I don't think they're great by any means. And they also have an overtime win against Rice, which is alarming. I don't know how they have their quality of wins, especially with that blowout win against Gonzaga, and just how they played, and then they somehow go to overtime against Rice. Doesn't exactly add up for me. I think I think they're going to be due for a loss eventually, especially here in an interstate matchup, interconference, big spread for the road team. Obviously, I don't think Ken Palm would agree with me here, but I like the 6.5 a lot, so that's going to be tailing here. Texas is tough to play at home, but with the interim coach as well, and especially with Chris Beard just getting fired in the last week, I think there's gonna be a little bit more extra chatter and news around this Texas team. Obviously, they're still playing well, but are winning games, but I don't think they're playing as well as they were to start the season. And then with that, we'll just wrap up the video. As always, we have our partnership with Prize Picks. See there on the left, we'll match your first deposit up to $100 using our promo code PROPICKS. It's a daily fantasy app, so you can use it in betting illegal states. They also have promo codes, or not promo codes, but promos each week where you can bet on a quarterback, say to throw over a yard, or they'll slash a player's points in half, and then you just take the over. So check it out if you haven't already. But I appreciate you guys for watching. Like I mentioned earlier, stay tuned on Twitter for some of our other picks or just putting out those official plays. Let me know what you guys are taking in the comments. And as always, thank you guys for watching.